Welcome back to my channel. I'm really happy that you're here today because I am about to start into a new series. So I've just started this new series on TikTok where I basically want to create sort of daily videos, regular videos, where I'm going to choose one manifestation technique and I'm going to talk about it, and we are going to focus on that technique for that day. Now I think what we could maybe do on YouTube is we could maybe focus on it for longer, maybe several days or a week until I post the next video. Obviously one day isn't going to be very long, but the idea of what I'm doing on TikTok is that I'm going to I'm going to choose one technique for one day, and the next day we're just going to focus on a different technique, but we're still going to be focusing, so we're still going to be building that momentum. And so that's basically what we're going to talk about today. So before I get into what today's technique is going to be, if you're not subscribed and this sort of content interests you, then I would really love it if you would hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell notification so that you can be notified every time I post a new video. And yeah, let's get into it. So the technique that I've chosen today was actually inspired by a story that I read in one of the secret books. I'll tell you the particular book. So the book was How the Secret Changed My Life, and that's actually my favourite secret book because it basically lists, it's basically a compilation of stories, and it's where Rhonda Ben shares all of these stories with us about different experiences that people have had using The Secret. And I find that, you know, when I'm down or when I'm struggling, or even when I'm not, even if I just want that extra upliftment, I just want to really raise my vibration to that next level, it's something that really helps me. Is just reading about other people's genuine stories, you know, rather than just reading about how other people have, what people's advice might be, or, you know, people suggesting techniques or whatever it might be. I find it really helpful to read those stories, as much as I find reading techniques helpful, because it really reminds me that other people are doing this, and it shows me what's worked for them and what hasn't. So the story that particularly inspired the technique that we're going to practice today is someone basically shared a story in that book. The story was they'd been trying to manifest a job, and they'd actually been journaling and they'd been writing about it, and they'd been trying to write as if, but the way they'd been doing it is they didn't really believe it, so they weren't acting during the day as if they already had it, and that was the difference. Have you ever noticed yourself doing that? Because I certainly have. I find sometimes I can visualize myself in a particular situation, but I don't realize I'm actually focusing on a future self, and that can actually block you, and that can be a problem. You can very easily visualize yourself in the future living in that way, but when it comes to now, the way that you're reacting to things is very different. You're reacting as this current version of yourself and not that version of yourself. And so that's why I thought this technique would be particularly helpful. So I thought that we would really focus on acting as if we already have it. And I know you've probably heard this 1,000 times, but it's so easy to not do. It's so easy to do your meditation and do your visualization and visualize yourself in the future. And what you need to do is you need to pull that future into the now, and you need to basically every step that you take, the actions that you take during the day, as you go about your regular life, your normal routine, they need to be reflecting that feeling that you already are this person. Now, I know that this can be very challenging, and one of the reasons is because, you know, it's very easy to say act as if, but what's the problem? When we actually act, if you try to act as if in your day-to-day life instead of just visualizing it into the future, it's difficult because it's challenging. Basically, because there are things that you would do once you're that future version of yourself differently than you can possibly do now. Let's say, for example, you're visualizing yourself, you're trying to manifest a particular job. There's a limit to the extent to which you can act as if you already have it now in your day-to-day life, because obviously you can't turn up to that job, you don't have that job yet. And so that's where I think it can be challenging, and it can be easier to almost slip just into future visualization instead of acting as if now. So I wanted to maybe talk about some of the things that we can do to make this a bit easier. So I thought I would maybe give some examples. That's basically what I've done in the TikTok that I've created. So some examples would be, let's say you're imagining yourself in a particular job, which was actually the case in this story. what can we do? What can we do in our day-to-day life to actually emulate that? So maybe ask yourself, would I be working from an office, or would I be working from home? If you're working from an office, then maybe ask yourself, okay, maybe visualize yourself in the office, not with your eyes closed, while you're actually in, going about your day-to-day activities. Visualize yourself in that office and ask yourself, okay, would I have breaks? What time would my breaks be? Why don't I schedule my breaks? Would I take breaks to go and get water? Act as if, as much as you can, if you're going to be working from home, if you're trying to manifest a job where you're actually going to be working at home, then ask yourself, okay, where would I be doing it? Are you sat on your bed when actually, if you did have are you sat on your bed with the computer, when actually, if you had that job, would you be sat somewhere else? Do you already have a desk set up? Would you be sat there instead? So basically, as much as you can, do things the way you would if you had already manifested that reality. And again, of course, there are going to be constraints, but these are just some ideas on, the sort of things that we might be able to do. And remember that also your manifestation might not be quite as tangible. It might not be physical. Maybe you want to manifest a greater sense of self-love. How would you treat yourself? How would your thoughts be different? How would your actions be different if you were already that version of yourself? So these are just some thoughts on how it is that we might be able to do things differently. And, one of the reasons I really wanted to create this series is because I'm really passionate about mindset and manifestation. I think sometimes they actually go together. And I also find that a lot of the time I really struggle with it, because what happens is I think so much about the law of attraction, I think about manifestation, and I end up falling back into, what is it that I need to do now? What actions do I need to take? How do I need to fix this? How do I solve this? And so I actually forget, basically, to use manifestation techniques. So I actually thought that creating this would help me as well. And I thought that, going forward, I could also sort of share my experiences. And as I practice this more, and we practice this more together, hopefully I can give you even more, I can share even more stories of, what I manifest in times to come as well. So I thought that this would really help all of us, and it's something that I'm really, really excited to do, because I do think it's really easy when you're trying to practice manifestation to actually not practice it as consistently as you mean to practice it. So this is today's technique. This is your technique for the next few days. I'd really, really love it if you could, maybe try and practice it. Maybe you could come back, maybe you could leave a comment now and tell me, have you practiced this before? What are your experiences with the law of attraction? Have you attracted anything? What's maybe the biggest thing that you've attracted? Or maybe do you struggle to attract the big things, but have you attracted small things, and what's your experience with it? And maybe you could come back in a few days and tell me what your experience is. Have you experienced anything new? Has anything changed? Or even do you feel any different? Thank you for watching this video. We've now come to the end of it. Please hit the like button if you like this in any way, or if this is the sort of content that you're interested in. If you're interested in how to work with me anyway, I'll put those links down below. My offers do tend to change, and I'm planning on sort of promoting some of my offers on Instagram as well. Again, if you like this, then please subscribe, hit the subscribe button. I'll leave my Instagram handle down below, and I will see you in my next video.